Did you know some of the most successful people in the world were lazy when they started? Not unmotivated, just allergic to unnecessary effort. You think I'm joking, right? Bill Gates literally admitted he looked for lazy people to hire because they're the ones who find the easiest, smartest way to do the hardest things. And bro is a multi-billionaire. He knows what he's talking about. So, if you feel lazy, it might not be a flaw. It might be a hint. It might mean your brain is wired for efficiency, not struggle. And you've just never been given a system that actually works with that wiring instead of fighting against it. And that's what we're building today. A daily routine that turns your laziness into the advantage it was always meant to be. Chapter 1. You're not lazy. You're overloaded. Let me tell you something most people never hear. You're not lazy. You're exhausted in ways you don't even notice anymore. Because laziness isn't lying on the couch doing nothing. Real laziness is when you can't even enjoy doing nothing because your brain is still running in the background like a laptop with 100 tabs open. You know exactly what I mean? You're scrolling, but your mind is thinking, what about that thing I didn't finish? What about that message I never replied to? What about that goal I'm supposed to be working on? It's chaos. Internal, silent, well-dressed chaos. And the thing about chaos is this. It steals your energy before you even use it. Most people aren't burned out from doing too much. They're burned out from thinking about doing too much. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your mind is carrying so many unfinished ideas, expectations, and self-judgments that even starting feels heavy. That's not laziness, that's overload. Imagine this for a second. You have a tiny stick figure version of yourself, calm, simple, focused, and then behind it, there's a giant pile of everything you should have done this week. Every time you take a step forward, the pile leans a little more and you feel it about to collapse. Of course you freeze. Of course you hesitate. You're not lazy, you're bracing for impact. And I get it, I really do. There was a time in my own life when I wasn't doing anything, yet somehow felt tired all the damn time. Not physically tired, mentally. The kind of tired where you wake up and your brain already has a complaint ready. That was the moment I realized something simple but life-changing. My brain wasn't refusing work, it was refusing pressure. See, ambition becomes heavy when it's not organized. Dreams become stressful when they have no structure. And your potential starts feeling like a burden when you don't have a routine that supports it. This is why Chapter 1 matters. Because before we build the perfect daily routine for you, a routine that works even on low energy days, we need to understand the real problem. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more discipline. You don't need to fix yourself. You just need a routine that removes the noise so your real self, the ambitious one, the clever one, the efficient one, can breathe again. Once the overload is gone, your energy returns, your clarity returns, your ambition stops feeling like a weight and starts feeling like a direction. This routine we're building, it's not for a perfect person. It's for you. The real you. The tired but ambitious you. The I know I can do better, I just don't know where to start you. And Chapter 1 is your starting point. Not with force, not with pressure, but with understanding. Because the moment you stop thinking you're broken is the moment you finally start moving. Chapter 2. The 10-second morning reset. Let's be honest with each other for a second. Your mornings don't start. They happen to you. The alarm rings and your spirit leaves your body. Your brain boots up like an old computer. Slow, confused, slightly offended. And before you even fully wake up, the world is already asking you for things. Messages, responsibilities, reminders, expectations. No wonder you feel behind before you even stand up. But here's where things get interesting. Your entire day, your focus, your mood, your energy is shaped by the first 10 seconds after you wake up. Not the first hour. Not the morning routine influencers swear by. Just 10 seconds. Because in those 10 seconds, your brain is still soft. It's still quiet. It's still listening. So here's the simplest, laziest, most effective morning reset ever designed for humans like us. Wake up. Take one slow breath and say in your mind, today is a new file, not yesterday's. That's it. 10 seconds. You don't have to stretch. You don't have to meditate. You don't have to leap out of bed like a motivational robot. Just one breath, one sentence, one reset. Because what ruins your day isn't the tasks themselves. It's the leftover emotional dust from yesterday. The guilt, the unfinished stuff, the self-judgment, the feeling that you're already behind before you even start. This tiny reset does something huge. It clears the mental whiteboard. You wake up with a blank page instead of yesterday's mess scribbled all over your brain. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a period in my life where every morning felt like déjà vu. Waking up tired, scrolling immediately, drowning in the stress of the day before. And one morning, someone told me, "Your brain rewrites itself when you breathe slowly." I didn't believe it, but I tried it once. And suddenly the day felt less hostile, like I had a tiny bit of control again. You're not trying to become a morning person. You're trying to stop mornings from becoming your enemy. And that's why this works. Because it's doable. It's simple enough that even your tired, unmotivated, half-human morning self can pull it off. 10 seconds, one breath, a new file. And here's the fun part. If you do this for a few days, your brain starts trusting you again. It says, "Oh, you're not trying to overwhelm me. You're trying to guide me." That trust becomes momentum. That momentum becomes clarity. And clarity is the opposite of laziness. The perfect routine doesn't start with discipline. It starts with softness, with a reset, with the smallest possible win at the smallest possible moment. That's the foundation. And in Chapter 3, we build on it with the rule that will save you from overthinking, overplanning, and overcomplicating your entire life. Chapter 3, the one-task rule, the cure for overthinking. Let me guess something about you. And tell me if I'm wrong. When you decide to be productive, you don't pick one thing. You pick everything. You wake up guilty, motivated, or fed up. And suddenly, your brain turns into a project manager with unrealistic expectations. I'll clean my room, finish my work, start a business, fix my life, drink 8 liters of water, call everyone back, learn a new language, and, oh look, it's already overwhelming. And what happens next? You do nothing. Not because you're lazy, but because your brain refuses to start a race it knows you can't finish. This is where the one-task rule becomes magic. Here's the rule. Pick one meaningful task for the day. Just one. The task that moves your life forward even 1%. Not the easiest task, not the hardest. The one that actually matters. And once you choose it, everything else becomes optional. Bonus points, extra credit, free trophies. You know why this works? Because your brain loves clarity. It hates chaos. It hates when 10 different directions fight for attention, like kids arguing in the back seat. One direction, that's peace. That's momentum. That's movement. Imagine this for a second. A tiny version of you standing in front of 10 doors. Each door leads to an important thing you should do. But because you don't know which one to walk through, you freeze. Hours pass. The day ends. You feel bad. Next day, repeat. Now imagine the doors disappear, and one single door remains. Clear, simple, unavoidable. Suddenly moving forward doesn't feel heavy anymore. Let me share something personal with you. When I first started building routines for myself, I failed every day. Every day. Because I wrote these ambitious to-do lists that only a superhero with caffeine superpowers could finish. And every night I'd look at that list, unfinished, and feel like I lost the day. Until one day, I tried the one-task rule. I told myself, if I do just this one thing, today counts as a win. That one rule changed everything. Because the moment I stopped chasing productivity, I actually became productive. Not in a dramatic way, just consistently enough that my life actually moved forward. And here's the best part. When you focus on one task, something interesting happens. Your brain gets bored and starts doing other tasks accidentally. You clean a little. You reply to messages, you drink water, you do extra work. Not because you forced it, but because you weren't drowning in pressure. That's the power of the one-task rule. It turns achievement into something your brain can finally digest. So starting tomorrow, not a giant list, not a life overhaul, Just one task that matters. Your win for the day. Everything else is bonus. Everything else is freedom. Everything else is proof that you were never lazy. You were just overloaded and unorganized. In Chapter 4, I'll show you how to turn that one task into momentum. Because the secret to beating laziness isn't motivation. It's motion. Chapter 4, Momentum beats motivation. Let me tell you something simple but life-changing. Your problem isn't motivation. Your problem is starting. Because once you start, you're actually pretty good. You've had days where you cleaned one corner of your room, and suddenly you're rearranging your entire life like you're filming an episode of a makeover show. That's momentum. And momentum is stronger than motivation every single time. Here's the truth most people overlook. Your brain hates beginning, but it loves continuing. The first step feels heavy. The second step feels normal. The third step feels automatic. So instead of forcing motivation, we create tiny movement. The smallest action that tricks your brain into motion. Not run for 30 minutes. Just put on shoes. Not clean the whole room. Just pick up one thing. Not work on your project for hours. Just open the document. Once you're in motion, the resistance melts. I used this trick during a period when I felt stuck with everything. I kept waiting to feel ready, but readiness never came. So I tried a new rule. If something would take less than 2 minutes, I'd start it immediately. Not finish it, just start. Some days I only did 2 minutes. Other days, that tiny start pulled me into 20 minutes. Then 40. Then a full flow state. All because I took one tiny step. You don't need a giant push. You need a nudge. Just enough force to break the stillness. Because when you're in motion, even slowly, you stop feeling lazy. And you start feeling capable again. And that feeling, that's momentum. Chapter 5, Your environment is doing half the work. Let me tell you something most people never realize. Your environment is either your biggest support system or your biggest trap. Not your mindset, not your motivation, not your discipline, your environment. Because your brain is lazy in a very smart way. It always chooses whatever is closest, easiest, or already in front of you. That's why you scroll automatically. That's why you grab snacks without thinking. That's why your goals feel far and your distractions feel 2 centimeters away. So instead of trying to change your personality, we make one tiny shift. Make the things you want easy and the things you don't want slightly annoying. Just slightly. Enough that your lazy brain says, hey, let's just do the better thing. For example, put your water bottle next to where you sit. Put your journal on top of your pillow. Put your gym shoes where you trip over them. Put your phone charger across the room. You're not forcing discipline. You're designing defaults. Imagine a small room with 2 paths. One path covered in smooth tiles, the other covered in Lego pieces. Which one will you choose every time? Exactly. We follow the path of least pain. Even successful people rely on this. Steve Jobs simplified his entire life. His clothes, his desk, his routines. Not because minimalism is cute, but because removing friction makes action effortless. And you don't need a perfect aesthetic room for this. You just need a few nudges that push you in the right direction without effort. Because when your environment works for you, your routine becomes automatic. And when your routine becomes automatic, you don't need motivation anymore. That's the secret. Make winning easier than losing. Chapter 6. The 2-minute resistance trick. Here's something wild. Most of the things you avoid don't actually take long. It's the thought of starting that drains you. You know that feeling, right? You tell yourself, I'll do it later. Not because the task is hard, but because your brain reacts like you just asked it to climb Mount Everest with a backpack full of regrets. This is where the 2-minute resistance trick comes in. A tiny rule that removes 80% of the friction your mind creates. The rule is simple. If a task feels too heavy, tell yourself you're only doing it for 2 minutes. Not finishing it. Not committing to it. Just 2 minutes. Your brain can't fight 2 minutes. It's too small to fear, too quick to complain about. And here's the funny thing. After the 2 minutes, you'll notice the resistance is gone. The weight is gone. The mental drama is gone. Because once you start, You stop imagining the task and you start experiencing it. And experience is always easier than imagination. Even Steve Jobs understood this idea in his own way. He built his life around eliminating unnecessary steps because he knew that the fewer decisions you face, the easier it is to begin. And starting is everything. Let me give you an example you can visualize. Imagine you're sitting on the couch, staring at your laptop like it insulted your family. Your brain whispers, "Not today." But then you say, 2 minutes, that's it. You open the laptop, you type one line. Suddenly your brain goes, well, since we're here, 2 minutes become 5. 5 become 10. And you end up doing enough to be proud of yourself. All because the starting line wasn't scary anymore. This trick works for cleaning, working, studying, calling someone back, anything. Because the truth is, you're not avoiding the task, you're avoiding the feeling before the task. 2 minutes bypass that feeling. And even if you actually stop at exactly 2 minutes, guess what? You still win. You still built momentum. You still moved forward. And moving forward is the cure to that stuck feeling you've been carrying for so long. This is how lazy but ambitious people thrive. Not by forcing big effort, but by lowering the entry point until the brain says, yeah, okay, that's doable. Chapter 7. The Afternoon Restart Button. Here's something nobody tells you. Your day doesn't end at noon, but your energy does. And that's when most people give up. Not because the day was bad, but because once the afternoon slump hits, your brain quietly whispers, let's just try again tomorrow. But lazy but ambitious people don't need a full restart. They just need a mini reboot. Something so small, your tired brain won't fight it. Here's the trick. Pick one tiny action that resets your system, not your goals. A short walk, a glass of cold water, a quick stretch, opening a window, standing at the sink for 30 seconds. Anything that breaks the mental fog without requiring willpower. Think of it like tapping the side of an old TV so the picture clears up. You're not fixing the device. You're reminding it what it's supposed to do. And honestly, afternoons are when most people lose the day emotionally, not physically. It's when the guilt creeps in. The I wasted my morning feeling. The today's already ruined storyline your brain loves to repeat. But here's the truth. A ruined morning does not guarantee a ruined day. Your day can be saved at 2 p.m., at 4 p.m., even at 7 p.m., if you just restart instead of surrender. I remember once having a whole afternoon where I did absolutely nothing. Zero productivity, just vibes and procrastination. But then, for no reason, I stood up, washed my face, and suddenly my brain felt like it got a software update. 10 minutes later, I finished the task I was avoiding for 8 hours. Sometimes your body just needs a signal, not a lecture. So here's your new rule for the lazy but ambitious lifestyle. If your day stalls, don't waste it. Reset it. The smallest action can bring your energy back online. Because the goal isn't to be perfect, the goal is to never fully shut down. Chapter 8. The Night Wind Down. That actually works. Let's talk about nights, because nights are sneaky. At night, you suddenly believe in yourself again. You start planning your future, rewriting your whole life, imagining tomorrow's the day everything finally changes. You turn into this calm, organized, visionary version of yourself, until the morning steals your memory like a bad sequel. The problem isn't your ambition. The problem is that you never close the day properly. You just fall into the night the way someone falls into the deep end of a pool. Unplanned, ungraceful, and a little dramatic. So here's the wind down system that actually works, especially for someone who wants progress without exhaustion. End your day before your day ends you. No candles, no perfect bedroom aesthetics, no 40-minute night rituals. Influencers pretend they do every night. Just one simple practice. Give the day a quiet ending, a soft landing, a mental, we're done for now. Here's how. Sit or lie down. Take one slow breath and tell yourself, today is complete. Tomorrow can have the rest. That's it. One sentence, one breath, one moment. It's not meant to impress anyone. It's meant to release the guilt, the silent weight you carry into the next day. Because what actually keeps you tired isn't the day itself. It's the unfinished emotions attached to it. The little frustrations, the thoughts you replay, the pressure you drag from day to day like emotional luggage with a broken wheel. If you don't end the day, your mind never stops working. It just keeps thinking and thinking and thinking until you fall asleep out of pure mental exhaustion. I had a phase where I kept going to bed feeling like I lived the same day over and over. No closure, no reset, just a loop. And the first time I ended the day intentionally, even for 10 seconds, it felt like someone turned off a noise I didn't realize was running. This tiny ritual tells your brain, we're done. Rest now. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything doesn't need to be finished today. Lazy? No. Efficient? You're protecting your energy for the future instead of wasting it on overthinking. Tomorrow will come, but tonight you get to close the chapter gently. Chapter 9. Consistency without willpower. Here's a truth nobody likes to admit. You don't become consistent by becoming disciplined. You become consistent by becoming someone who doesn't need discipline in the first place. Because discipline is loud, it's dramatic, it's all get up, work hard, push through pain. But real consistency is quiet, soft, almost invisible. It happens when your routine becomes so easy, your lazy brain doesn't bother fighting it anymore. Think about it. You never forget to check your phone, you never forget to snack, you never forget to scroll. Not because you're committed, but because those things require zero friction. So what we're doing here is flipping the script. You build consistency the same way you built your bad habits. Through small, repeatable, barely noticeable actions. Not by brute force, not by grinding. Just by making the right things effortless. Let me tell you something personal. There was a time when I tried to force myself into these serious routines. Waking up early, exercising every day, planning out everything like I lived inside a productivity app. It lasted maybe 3 days. Then I crashed, felt guilty, tried again, crashed again. Classic self-improvement loop. What finally worked wasn't making the routine harder. It was making the entry point laughably easy. Something I could do even on my worst day. Even when I felt unmotivated. Even when my brain was in bro, not today mode. And once I repeated that tiny action long enough, something surprising happened. It became part of who I was. Not a challenge, not an effort, just identity. That's the real secret. Consistency is not about effort, it's about identity. It's about becoming the type of person who naturally does the little things that move their life forward. Lazy but ambitious people have a huge advantage here. We don't waste energy on extra steps. If something becomes part of our identity, we do it automatically. So the goal is simple. Build small wins daily. Wins so easy your brain doesn't resist. Wins so consistent, they quietly stack into confidence. Because confidence isn't a feeling. It's evidence. Evidence you create by showing up in small ways over and over until your brain finally says, okay, maybe we are this person now. And once your identity shifts, consistency stops being something you chase. It becomes something you are. Chapter 10. The Lazy Genius Philosophy. Your new identity. If you've made it here, you've probably realized something important about yourself. Something you never needed permission to admit. You were never lazy. You were misaligned. Your goals were big. Your systems were wrong. Your energy was scattered. Your expectations were unrealistic. And your routines didn't belong to you. They belonged to some imaginary perfect person you thought you had to become. But the real you doesn't need perfection. The real you needs flow, simplicity, direction. A system that works even when your energy's low and your motivation is hiding somewhere under the bed. Here's the philosophy you walk away with. The Lazy Genius Philosophy. Do the smallest meaningful thing with the least resistance at the right moment. That's it. That's the whole lifestyle. It's efficient. It's sustainable. And it's built for people like you. Ambitious minds living inside tired bodies. You don't become successful by doing more than everyone. You become successful by doing what actually matters in a way your brain will actually allow. Because the truth is, ambition isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, it isn't a motivational speech. Ambition is quiet. Ambition is private. Ambition is that tiny voice inside you that says, I want my life to be better than this. Even on days when you barely have the energy to stand. And here's the crazy part. That voice, that tiny whisper, it's enough. If you follow it, slowly, gently, consistently, it will take you exactly where you want to go. Let me leave you with this picture. Imagine a small version of you standing at the edge of a huge, complicated maze. For years, you tried to sprint through it, jump walls, knock down obstacles, force your way to the finish. But all you ever needed was to take one calm step in the right direction every day. Because mazes aren't solved by force, they're solved by movement, and routines aren't built by discipline, they're built by design. So if something in this video hit you, if something made you feel understood or seen or a little lighter, just think of one word right now: ready. Not ready for perfection, not ready for the grind, just ready for your version of growth, a softer version, a smarter version, a version built for the ambitious and beautifully, strategically, effortlessly lazy. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're not late. You're just beginning with the right system finally in your hands.